Welcome to the Pam and Peggy Show. We have a very special edition today in honor of Remembrance Day. And with me today, from the Suffield Military Family Resource Center, Leila Phillips, Executive Director, and Kerry Goldring, who is in charge of programs. Ladies, welcome to this special edition of the Pam and Peggy Show. Leila, tell me, what is the Suffield Military Family Resource Center?
So the Military Family Resource Center is a not-for-profit, federally funded, provincially incorporated program and service organization providing support to military families.
And you're right there at the base?
We are. We have a center in Suffield. There's 50 centers across Canada, the US, and Europe, and 30 plus in Canada alone.
Wow, that's quite a few then.
Yeah.
And you look after the Canadian families?
We do. We also provide services to the British military families by virtue of the fact that they're here for a temporary time. So any service that's available to a Canadian is available to a British person as well.
Oh, that's good. And Kerry, you look after the programs. So I know you have a childcare program.
We do. We have a Child and Youth Services Department. Within that program, we have initiatives and activities for children aged 6 months through 17 years.
Okay.
Those programs run year-round, everything from emergency childcare, casual childcare, youth programming, extracurricular activities, parent workshops, you name it, we run it.
Okay. What other things do you have for programs?
We have our Child and Youth Services Coordinator also provides help for families who may have special needs, and she can connect them with local service providers here in Medicine Hat. We have a phenomenal volunteer leadership program. We rely heavily on volunteer support within the programs. So if we can catch people as they arrive into the community and place them in a meaningful volunteer opportunity, we can engage them for the duration of their tour with us. We find our volunteers are our biggest advocates.
Okay.
Moving around the offices, we have an on-site social worker, and they provide referral, counseling, intervention support, kind of prevention assistance services. And they work closely with a family liaison officer out of Calgary for extended supports. We have deployment support services, so looking after those families when the serving member is away for any prolonged absence. We'll provide outreach, information, support, social activities for the families. We have a robust employment and education assistance program, so helping with resume writing all the way through to placing those clients with potential employers. And then we offer so many interest-based courses and educational workshops for adult community. I think that pretty much sums up the pillars, and then obviously all the programs that fall underneath those pillars are community needs driven, so it can be a bit of a challenge.
And you run that yourself with the...
No. We have a core staff of 6 people, and then we have anywhere up to 15, 20 frontline staff helping us, and of course the volunteers.
Okay, that's good. So it's quite a big operation.
It is.
Like running a little town.
It is, yeah.
Almost.
We have about 250 military families that we provide services for, both in Ralston and in the Medicine Hat area. And then, as Leila said, we extend our services to include some of the military members, and that number can range anywhere from 500 to 800 soldiers each year.
A lot of people.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Leila, you've been at this quite a while. I think you have too, Kerry.
Yeah. 16 years we've been there.
My goodness.
Yeah, so we've seen it evolve from a very grassroots organization into something that's really met the needs of a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So do either of you have experience as military families yourselves?
We both do.
You both
of
do.
us.
So
In fact, a large portion of our staff have been spouses of military members or are currently spouses of military members.
Well, I've often wondered some of the challenges of sending your loved one having to
say goodbye.
Say goodbye, and what happens at home, and how do they function when with that distance and that. Yeah, that's part of your work is to support those families.
That's the deployment support piece that we offer, and so what we see there is an opportunity to deployment support, so sort of give people an indication of what to expect. We're in contact with them throughout the deployment to ensure that, you know, that their needs are being met, that they're doing okay, that they're coping well. Any issues that they might have, that we can sort of intercept that and make sure that they get whatever program and service they need so that it doesn't become a bigger issue.
So these are proactive services
They are.
aimed at preventing post-traumatic stress disorder, I'm
Definitely.
thinking, and
Yeah, you can give the family a better understanding of what their spouse may be experiencing.
yeah.
There's also post-deployment. So when the member comes back, we help the families to reintegrate or integrate so that they are able to function as a family. If you can imagine a member of the family being gone for 6 or 8 months and then returning home, doesn't really know where they fit into the family picture
Yes,
anymore. So we help them sort of figure that out and navigate a new path to the family, because the family more often than not is different when they return home than to prior to the leaving.
Oh, absolutely. Children grow up and problems emerge and
Right.
You
all
get
those
into a
things.
routine when the serving member's gone.
Yeah.
You get into a routine, and it's a big adjustment, a big
Yeah.
upheaval when they come back. It's not all roses.
No.
Yeah.
No, and quite often they bring issues with them. Some sort of operational stress injury may have occurred while they were deployed, and so there's another piece that now has to be contended with, and making sure that not only the member is getting what they need, but the family is able to get what they need to be able to work as a cohesive unit to get through whatever transition it is that they're trying to make.
Well, I know there's been a lot in the press in the last few years about soldiers returning, and men and women with all kinds of trauma and difficulties. So it sounds like these programs are designed to really help people to mitigate that as much as possible.
Absolutely.
To keep people strong and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go through this and we learn, more programs are being instituted as a result of that. Recently there was talk about creating a program for veterans who've been medically released. So that's sort of right now in the pilot project stage, and 7 centers across Canada are instituting some sort of program to meet the needs of these retiring soldiers.
So I imagine you folks must always be evolving, emerging, retraining,
Always.
readjusting to the demands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything that we plan is based on the community that we have today, but we're also simultaneously planning for that community that's arriving in 3 to 6 months. So it keeps us on our toes.
You have a constantly changing target.
Changes on a dime.
And then both the UK and the Canadian forces.
Canadians tend to stay a little longer, but the British
Right.
forces are 6 months to 2 years.
So long enough then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Kerry, that people can work when they're here?
They can. They have to jump through a few extra hoops, our British families that are over here. And some of the qualifications might not be recognized in Canada. But for the most part, if somebody really wants to find employment, there are employment opportunities out there for them. And what we promote is, if you can't find employment, there's always the volunteer opportunities as well to keep that CV fluent and not have any gaps.
Right. Well, I imagine that for those family members who are coming with their military personnel, lots of adjustments, lots of challenges. So staying active and involved in community is important. And what a perk to the community to have these folks share their talents with us.
Definitely,
good.
yeah. We're always on the lookout for anybody with any skills that they want to share.
That's good. So we're coming up to Remembrance Day, and this show will be aired during this week. Leila, what does Remembrance Day mean to you?
Well, again, many things. I grew up in a military family. I married into a military family, and I work inside the military family. And so for me, it's really just an opportunity to recognize all of the sacrifices made by the soldiers and their families, and acknowledging that in a way that only people who've been involved in that system can truly appreciate and understand, but recognizing that community support is so essential to making people feel like what they're doing is right and okay, and to keep moving forward with it.
So it's important to acknowledge whether nobody likes war, I'm sure, but it's really important to provide support emotional support and financial support to our military people so that they have what they need and they feel valued and they serve our country and sacrifice a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Remembrance Day is sort of that official time that we do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work and effort that goes into putting on the parades that you see around town and in outlying areas. You know, they don't just happen. There's a lot of people who are strongly committed to making this happen and making it, you know, a wonderful, successful celebration. You know, the last thing we want to do is forget.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Yeah. So you're both wearing your poppies, and hard to believe that November is galloping here so quickly. So this role of military resource, family resource centers is key one to sustaining all that the military does for our country.
Yes.
We're the strength behind the uniform. The families, I shouldn't say we are, the families are the strength behind the uniform.
And you're the wind beneath the wings of
Absolutely.
I like that.
And we go from the west coast of Victoria, Esquimalt, to the far east and everywhere in between.
Okay. And what is your base, is your operation about average size, small, big? Where do you
ours is relatively small, unless you include the British numbers, in which case it starts to increase. But places like Esquimalt, Edmonton, Petawawa, Halifax, Gagetown, they're quite large in the 5,000 range. So that's a lot of military members and families to provide support to and to get it right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, I think it's important in a community like Medicine Hat where the presence of the military bases are certainly add to our communities in terms of their volunteers. We often see CFB involved in community events. Certainly economically, the base contributes a lot to our community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think probably there's a strength. I think it's for me, I feel better knowing that we've got some really good supports for these families so close.
Yeah, it's absolutely essential to keeping the families together and letting the member go and do what they need to do to better provide support to this country as a whole, and maybe even the world if you want to look at it like that. But the family is absolutely key. If a soldier is concerned about what's happening with their family, then they're not really going to be able to do their job as well as maybe they could or should. So we hope to alleviate some of that stress.
Yeah. Well, thank you both very much for taking time to be with us. I imagine that your organization has a web page.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
www.familyforce.ca.
Okay, so if you want to learn more, just check that out. So thank you, Leila and Kerry, for being with us today. And to everyone, I hope you really do enjoy the time to reflect and pay tribute on Remembrance Day this year and always. So don't go away. Coming after the break, we're going to have a great interview with Lawrence Gordon talking about returning a family member from World War II after 70 years, finding his uncle and returning him for his burial at home. So we'll be back.